Hey, what's up guys? Alex here with a new video, and today we're going to be talking about the settings in my Canon EOS R. Now, like most videos, I've put this off for a very long time. I get this question asked a lot, specifically which autofocusing setting I use during the wedding day. And to be honest, I haven't done this video because I don't really have any special settings. So I will walk through what I do and how I put it in practice. And I will also show you guys a setting that I actually just discovered that one of you pointed out in the comments that does kind of impact the bokeh in photos shot at high shutter speeds. So unfortunately, I don't have examples kind of staying at home, following the rules, right? Kind of avoiding the spread of the coronavirus. This video will be very different. So again, traditionally, I would probably go outside, shoot some behind the scenes B-roll and footage and show you guys how these settings are applied in the real world. Unfortunately, cannot do that. Luckily, I do have some unused footage that I took for a YouTube video I was planning to make that I never made that kind of applies here. So I can kind of show you these settings in action and how I use the camera. But other than that, let's dig in behind the screen into the menus and show you how I configure my Canon EOS R. Okay guys, so here we are. First things first, I shoot everything in manual. So when we're looking at weddings, engagements, family sessions, I am always in manual mode. That's really for two reasons. One, having full control of the camera. You're able to adjust your settings on the fly and again, be in total control and let the camera make a decision for you. But secondly, most importantly is when you're editing at the end of the day, right? And you're using the same settings across multiple images, it's a lot easier to batch edit, and that's gonna make your life simpler when you're editing photos. But other than that, let's dig in here. So let's go ahead and go to our quick menu, and because most of our settings are actually done here, 95% of the time I am on face tracking eye detect. So I use this mode pretty much throughout the whole day. The only time I'm not using face detect, eye detect, is when the bride is walking down the aisle. When she's walking down the aisle, I go to single point small. And that's just for two reasons, right? So when I first started using this camera, I actually tried using face detection. And the same thing happened here when I was using Sony. There's so many faces everywhere, right? The camera just freaks out. It starts tracking faces on the sides. It'll start focusing on the floor in front of you. It just gets so confused because there's so much going on. But secondly, as the bride got closer, the camera would pick up on the bouquet before it picked up the face. And these are all shots that you're missing until the subject is close enough where it finds the face. And one thing I found that's just super simpler is just doing single point, put it on the face, and just do it kind of the old school way. I tried using this vertical kind of zone AF. And what happened here is, again, it wouldn't pick up what I wanted to, right? Pick up the bouquet, and that's just the last thing I want in focus when the bride's walking down the aisle. I want her face in focus, right? So small point AF has been what I do, and that's the only time I change my autofocusing mode throughout a wedding day. So with that being said, for engagement sessions, family sessions, everything else, I'm always on face detect tracking. Now, as far as my AF, I never shoot one shot. I'm always in servo. I shoot a lot, so when I'm asking my subjects to move and do things, servo AF will always nail the spot, and that with face detect is just the sweet spot to get sharp photos. Now, as far as my drive mode, I keep it on low speed continuous, and the reason why is when you go to low speed continuous, it prioritizes tracking, so it's gonna make sure it's in focus before it takes a photo. If you go to high speed continuous, it's just shooting for speed, right? So you're gonna get some frames out of focus. Now, when you look at it, I think high speed is 5 frames per second, and I think low speed is 3 frames per second. Now, guys, we're talking about weddings here, and if I'm honest, 3 frames per second has done the job for me. I've never missed a shot because my camera wasn't fast enough, and if you say you need 10, 15 frames per second for a wedding, I have no idea what you're doing. Low speed continuous has worked for me. I'm not shooting sports. If you were shooting sports, absolutely, 3 frames per second is just not good, right? But in this case, it does the job. Now, as far as my metering goes, I keep it here on the kind of the regular evaluative metering that comes by default. I do have the flicker detection on because of kind of LED lights, or churches have weird lights that does save me. I shoot everything in RAW. Now, I want to make a video about this because lately I've been shooting in, if you go to info here, I've been shooting in C-RAW, and the files are almost half the size, and I can't see a difference. Like, they are pretty identical. Canon's compressed RAW, which is what C-RAW is really good. And you can see here in this memory card, I actually haven't cleared it, right? But I have 1,051 photos left with regular RAW and 1,819 with C-RAW. So I've played with both. I've shot weddings with C-RAW, I've shot tons with C-RAW, and I've been completely happy with the results. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a video on that next, because that's very, like, I mean, it saves you space and maintains quality. That's a win for me, if you ask me. As far as white balance, I keep it in auto white balance. Like, I don't really care what the camera does here, because I'm going to change it later when I'm editing. So that's something I don't really tinker with throughout the day. Picture style. Now, this question always comes up, right? Which picture style do you use? What should I use? This does not matter if you're shooting in RAW. If you're shooting in JPEG, this will make a difference with the colors. But if you're shooting in RAW, like, it defaults to like just a flat profile RAW. When you're editing, right? So none of this really applies to the picture you're taking. So I leave it on neutral to kind of have a flat, the flattest look I can get, but this doesn't really matter. And as far as like auto light optimizer, you can enable this in manual mode, and I do shoot with full frame sensor. So going into the menus here, there's only one setting I change here, and let's go ahead and kind of scroll in back here in the camera. This setting I just recently changed because a viewer dropped a comment below and told me about this. I looked at the manual and he was absolutely right. So by default, the camera comes in mode 1 with silent live view shoot. And what's really interesting is this mode pretty much is electronic first curtain, right? So when the shutter opens, it opens up electronically, and then the actual shutter closes. And this is completely fine, right? And I think Canon does it because the shutter actually sounds nicer. So let's see if I can pick it up here. So it's just kind of one click, right? Now what happens is, if you are shooting at a high shutter speed, low aperture, the electronic first curtain will actually cut off bokeh balls or cut off bokeh in the background. I'm not sure how to explain it. It messes with the background blur, makes it look less appealing. I think Manny Ortiz made a video about this a while back on his camera, and the same thing, right? So if you want to have the best bokeh at high shutter speeds, you want to disable the silent live view shooting. So the only con to this is the shutter is louder. So let's hear the difference. So it's like 2 clicks for every photo, right? So it's not as quiet, but in the end, I mean, I want to prioritize image quality over a shutter sound, right? So I started disabling this a few weeks ago. I wanted to do a test with it. I might still try. Again, trying to stay at home as much as possible, so we'll see how that works. I could probably do it indoors, but that's the only setting I change here in the main menu. Other than that, everything is pretty standard, guys. Nothing really different here. So alrighty guys, so what do you think? Super simple, right? Mirrorless cameras enable you to really kind of take the camera out the equation, right? The camera's a tool. The camera shouldn't get in the way of you capturing memories and moments. And with like mirrorless cameras and eye autofocus and tracking and just the amazing technology packed into these cameras, like it really enables almost everybody to make beautiful images. And that's just what it's all about, right? So as technology starts evolving and kind of getting better, you really like are taking a lot of the things out of the equation, just worrying about composition, worrying about lighting, and then kind of, I mean, eye autofocus does a lot for you, right? The tracking does a lot for you. So super simple, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. As always, please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one, guys. Peace.